Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the biological roots of chronic physical tension and stress. We're going to look under the hood of your nervous system to figure out exactly why we react the way we do to life's pressure cooker. If you've ever felt like your body is carrying this heavy, invisible load, and your mind just can't seem to talk its way out of it, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're breaking down exactly how trauma and stress literally live in the body, and more importantly, how we can systematically begin to heal it all. So let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered why you can handle massive amounts of stress at work? Managing teams, hitting crazy deadlines, putting out fires all day. But the second you walk through your front door, you feel totally numb? Or maybe you just suddenly snap into a panic over a dropped spoon. It's this sharp, exhausting contrast between high performance on the outside and total internal burnout on the inside. And listen, this hidden exhaustion, it's incredibly common. But here's the thing, it's not a character flaw. It's actually a brilliant evolutionary survival mechanism. Section 1. The biology of safety. To really grasp our physical reactions to stress, we've got to look at our evolutionary biology. Specifically, this fascinating concept called neuroception. Coined by neuroscientist Dr. Stephen Porges as part of his polyvagal theory, neuroception is essentially your autonomic nervous system's subconscious alarm system. Think of it like an internal radar that is constantly, silently scanning the environment. It's picking up the tone of a colleague's voice, a micro-expression on a face, or a sudden loud noise, and it's instantly deciding, am I safe or am I in danger? And the craziest part? It happens completely below our conscious awareness. Your thinking, rational brain doesn't even get a split second to evaluate the situation before your body reacts. Our bodies are just intelligently scanning for threats to keep us alive. And this perfectly explains why two people can react completely differently to the exact same situation. You see, traditionally, science relied on the SR model. A stimulus happens, and a response follows. Pretty simple, right? But Dr. Porges highlights the SOR model instead. Now, that O stands for the organism, which means you, and specifically your underlying autonomic state. Your internal state acts as the intervening variable here. If your nervous system is already primed for danger, even a minor stressor is going to cause a massive reaction. Literally, your bodily state dictates exactly how you interpret the entire world around you. Section 2. Trauma and body armoring. So what happens when that internal radar is constantly detecting threats? Well, our bodies adapt in a very physical way. We develop what somatic therapist Wilhelm Reich called body armoring. When you're facing chronic fear or hypervigilance, your body develops this reflexive, protecting, tightening response. Just listen to this visceral quote from CPTSD author Pete Walker. He describes how childhood abuse led to a full-body flinching response that stuck with him even as an adult simply swimming laps at a public pool. Or take ultra-athlete David Goggins, who survived horrific childhood abuse. Despite his absolute legendary mental toughness, his muscles were locked up like cement. It was causing chronic pain and severe injuries, all because his body was literally still bracing for an attack that was no longer happening. But body armoring isn't just about having tight hamstrings, It actually shows up in three distinct ways. First, physical armoring. That's the chronic muzzle tension, the clenched jaw, the shallow chest breathing. Then there's emotional armoring, which is when we wall off our feelings. We might dissociate, completely numb out, or bury ourselves in compulsive busyness just so we don't have to feel anything. And finally, relational armoring. This is hyperindependence, pushing people away, or isolating yourself entirely to avoid the sheer potential of getting hurt. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that this armoring was originally built to protect us from intolerable pain. It was actually a brilliant survival strategy at the time. But eventually, what once protected us starts to trap us, blocking our connection, our pleasure, and our vitality. Section 3. The window of tolerance. This concept maps out exactly where we need to be to function without carrying all that heavy armor around. Developed by Dr. Daniel Siegel, the window of tolerance describes your optimal zone of nervous system arousal. But trauma dramatically narrows this window. Above the window, you have hyperarousal. That's the sympathetic fight or flight state. Your heart is racing, you're irritable, anxious, just flooded with adrenaline. Below the window is hypoarousal, the dorsal vagal shutdown state. This is when you feel completely flat, numb, disconnected, and just exhausted, like someone literally pulled the plug. And for someone with a really narrow window, a tiny trigger can ricochet them from pure panic straight down into total shutdown, with absolutely zero middle ground. Now, the goal of healing isn't just to be numb. The ultimate goal is getting to the ventral vagal state. This is the sweet spot, right inside your window of tolerance. In this state, your prefrontal cortex is totally online. You feel safe, you feel connected to others, and you're capable of a flexible response to whatever life throws at you. In this sweet spot, you can actually feel frustration or sadness without completely drowning in it. Section 4, the high-functioning disguise. So why is it so incredibly hard to tell when someone's window is dangerously narrow? Well, mostly because our culture actively rewards it. High function is absolutely not the same as nervous system regulation. You see, many highly ambitious people disguise their deep underlying dysregulation as high performance. They take that sympathetic anxiety, the hypervigilance, the adrenaline, that constant fear of failure, and they use it as rocket fuel to be relentlessly productive. From the outside, it looks like pure excellence and poise, but from the inside, they are just surviving. Just listen to this incredibly powerful quote from a highly successful consulting partner, which was shared by therapist Annie Wright. They said, "I've been running a marathon in sprint mode for 20 years. My legs haven't stopped, but they've been screaming for a long time. Operating entirely outside your window of tolerance by running purely on stress hormones, it's simply not sustainable. It comes at a massive physical and emotional cost. Eventually, your body's going to say no more." Section 5. Somatic healing and de-armoring. Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Well, the body isn't just the container for our stress. It's also the pathway out. Because trauma and stress are held physically in the nervous system, cognitive understanding alone just isn't always enough. We can't simply think our way out of a physiological response. But the good news is we can engage the body directly to complete those unfinished protective responses and finally restore our natural, calm balance. We do this through somatic experiencing, a brilliant methodology developed by Dr. Peter Levine. Here are 4 highly structured, actually achievable steps you can take. First, orienting to safety. Simply look around your space. Actively notice colors and textures to manually signal to your brain that you're safe. Second, tracking sensations. This is called pendulating. Gently shifting your focus back and forth between a tight, distressing feeling in your body and a neutral, calm sensation. You're basically building up your tolerance over time. Third, the VOO sound. Take a slow breath and exhale with a low, vibrating VOO sound. This directly activates your calming vagus nerve. And fourth, tremoring. Gently shake out your hands and limbs to literally release trapped survival energy, very much like an animal shaking off a stressful encounter in the wild. But listen, you don't just do this once and you're cured. Melting the armor requires consistent daily practices. Simple things like diaphragmatic belly breathing, which literally signals rest and digest to your brain. Gentle daily stretching, which, by the way, David Goggins says quite literally saved his life by finally releasing that cement-like tension. Then there's mindful tracking of your internal signals, known as interoception. And crucially, co-regulation. Spending time with a safe, trusted therapist or a loved one. Our nervous systems actually learn how to be calm by borrowing calm from others. Even these tiny, consistent practices slowly teach your nervous system that the danger has finally passed. So, we've covered a lot of ground today. The biology of neuroception, the heavy cost of body armoring, and the powerful somatic ways we can finally start to widen our window of tolerance. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to really reflect on. What is your nervous system still trying to protect you from today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.